Okay, so I'm going to bring the project report and get confirmation that you can see my screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. So give me 2 minutes to walk through this. If you have any questions, please write them down because we'll have a thorough discussion after the 2 minutes. So what we've accomplished over the last week to 10 days is based upon the test input from the iStar team. We've made a few adjustments to the Acumatica jewelry module software. One, all styles now will be created in the stock item screen. All styles in the stock item screen. We will not use the kit spec screen for style creation. Sidebar, at one point we were thinking about doing that, but that was associated with having the PD system as a separate computer/tenant. When that went away, the notion of creating stock item or all styles in the stock item. Number two, because of standardization between Stanley and Roman, and for productivity on the user side, which I'll discuss in a moment, we believe that when we create a style, it should be 4 segments. In the past, it was either 1 or 2, perhaps 3 segments, but now we actually believe it should be 4 segments. And we discussed that on a YouTube that I've indicated here. The next thing we've done is that we've provided a proposal for a pilot generic inquiry output. I'm stressing the word pilot for the customer proposal, and we've provided a video on that. The next thing we've done is on the software itself, we have modified the term no purchases and replaced it with the word style. And that modification makes sense. We're creating a style. You don't buy styles, hence no purchases, but the word style is more conducive. And that also correlates to the why the 4 segments, standardization and productivity, we'll discuss in a little bit. We've also on a video discussed how auto numbering works. It meets the needs on the gold side. The out-of-the-box auto numbering does not meet the needs on the silver side, and we'll discuss that later. The next thing we've done is we've updated the manual. So I'm trying to get to the manual. There it is. So we've updated the manual. We've increased, this is available to everybody. We've added a glossary of terms, and we have provided on the a discussion of what the setups are, like deciding an exchange and a unit of measure and the base valuation. And then per these changes or adjustments is a better word, really haven't changed much. We've provided a clip snapshot on creating a jewelry style through the creation of a customer proposal and then a purchase order. And we've provided a short description of what is required per the screens, how that works, and then we've provided some detailed descriptions that are indicative of the work that the iStar team might want to provide for its internal people to provide detail on how you work the software. So more on that later, but we've augmented the manual a lot. The next thing, we've gotten some very valuable input from the iStar team, and we're going to be discussing this input in a moment. One, Christine and Eileen gave valuable input on the customer proposal. Brian has suggested on our video here on how to create a proposal, we talk about identifying a customer, and he's saying, hey, do we really need to do that? And then also questions on where the values for landed cost and packaging come. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. We've also gotten specs defined regarding fabrication and value add that I'm going to discuss in a moment. We've gotten some feedback that this value that we call metal loss, which defines the loss of the precious metal in the manufacturing. Example, I need 1.05 grams to create a 1 gram piece of jewelry. So the 0.05 equals the metal loss. At one point, that was a requirement. It looks like it's not a requirement right now. And then with the help of Tammy, we've gone through and we've correlated the prefix that's going to append the part number system to the metal type and confirmed. And we had a list of about 20 or so, and it turns out that 3 of them are not required, or it really doesn't matter. We got to get rid of them. And so thank you, Tammy, for doing that.
Well, we either got to get rid of them or we got to assign something to them.
Fair enough. But the reality is that the software is designed, it's table driven. And what I mean by table driven is it allows you in the future to add things or right now to take things off. So just because you take something off doesn't mean you don't have the ability to add it or to modify the naming conventions, etc. And you have a living system with an ERP. An ERP is a living system, so you're always making modifications. So this is a good example of what I would refer to as an update to a table-driven definitions that drive your ERP. Okay, we've also talked about with your input on the jewelry valuation GI. Talk about that in a little bit. We've also, on Wayne's World, we've decided on the warehousing specifications. We've updated those and we're pursuing options on Interpack and Masterpack. And then Thomas has been doing a lot of EDI vetting. So that's what's kind of occurred over the last week. So now let's get down to some brass tacks regarding, first of all, the customer proposal process. So I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet, and Aileen and Christine got together and said, hey, these are the values that we need when we generate a customer proposal. So when we look at that, I marked in color coding blue, orange, and green. Blue for sure is what comes out of Acumatica in the form of an Excel spreadsheet that we call a generic inquiry. No questions asked. We believe green is what you all iStar does in terms of marking up the customer proposal for selling price. Then we've got orange. And now I'm going to lean a little bit on Eileen because I'm calling the orange benchmark values. So let me go to the software first of all, and then I'll ask a question. When we create a style, this is something that we have not bought yet from our contract manufacturers. We haven't reseeded it into our warehouse. This is something that we may quote to the well, no, excuse me, we will quote to the customer, but they may or may not buy it. And when we do that, we really don't know the exact packaging cost. We don't know the exact freight cost or the duty cost because we haven't bought it yet. So my understanding from Aileen is that on the current customer proposals on the Roman side, in the Excel spreadsheets that you use today to quote to the customer, you call them benchmark values because you kind of know that a package is, $2 or $1 or 50 cents. And because of that, you know what the duty is because you know that, as an example, this particular butterfly item is maybe being manufactured by a vendor who happens to be in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, they've got the duty rate that says, okay, if it's under $7, it's this percentage duty. If it's over $7, it's that duty. Or maybe if it's under 7 grams, it's this percentage duty. If it's over 7 grams, it's that percentage duty. So, Aileen, do I have it correct?
Not entirely.
Thank you.
The only benchmark there's going to be is the packaging. Everything else
Okay.
is known. We would know the duty coming in because we would have already picked the factory.
So benchmark and known values, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, the key is from the perspective of constructing the actual customer proposal document. Currently, these benchmark and known values are per formulae in Excel. Is that correct?
That is how Roman Sunstone has been doing it, yes.
Thank you. How does Stanley do it?
I'm afraid I don't know.
So we definitely, Joy, we definitely need to take an action item with Christine and Brian, because I'm guessing, the two options are it either comes out of Procom or AS400, meaning ERP, or they do it like it's being done on the Stanley side per formula in Excel. And when I talked to Brian about it, he said that May is kind of the Excel expert defining this. So one of the action items that we have for this coming week is to define exactly how the customer proposal is created so that we as a team know it, and then we can mimic it in the system, or mimic the process utilizing Acumatica and JMS. Does that make sense?
Jim, we talked about this in last meeting with Christine and Brian, right? I remember.
Yeah, I know,
Right?
but we don't know. We talked about it, and what they did is they defined the values. That's what this Excel spreadsheet is. So now we know the exact values. And in addition to what we talked about, Joy, Aileen and Christine got together and confirmed that these values will meet the needs of both the Stanley side and the Roman side. So now we have
Yeah.
standardization. That's a good thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's what we've accomplished. What we haven't figured out is exactly how does this document get created. What I'm
No,
guessing is,
Jim, I think once we can extract the information out from the system, and then the rest of the document will be merchant's job to complete. They can modify the column to their needs. So you don't have to worry about it.
Well, we do have
It's
to
not
worry about it because I
Acumatica
don't know
job
the
anymore.
exact freight. And I don't know that exact freight number. I believe you
Wait,
benchmark or you take a known value and you estimate it in the Excel spreadsheet.
You're
So
right, Jim. It's benchmark.
I know I am. Right, it's benchmarked. Therefore, Joy, it can't come out of Acumatica. So let's schedule a meeting, a separate meeting with May, Christine, Aileen, and define what comes out of Acumatica through the GI and what gets benchmarked or is a known value that is created versus a formulae in Excel, and will define how the customer proposal is created. That's what we're going to do. Okay?
Eileen, do you think we need to do that?
Yes, absolutely. It's a core function of your process. And we absolutely need to do it.
You mean the which part? Which column? You mean the green one or the orange one?
Both the green and the orange need to be, this is my guesstimate right now. It's to be confirmed. So I'm not saying it, right? But my guesstimate is that the orange and the green are going to be actually formulae or benchmark values in Excel. And the green, as an example, is your markup. That ain't coming out of Acumatica.
Yeah, but why do you need it?
Your retail here, for sure.
Why do you need the
The-
information right now? I don't understand, because those information are manually input by merchant, right? Or you wanted the information to be able to extract from Acumatica. Is that what you want?
Here's why. Didn't I put it in here? Yes, here you go. Let me get rid of this, please. Hold on, please. Here's the answer why, and then we'll move on. Okay. In your flow today, you create a style. Then you create a customer, then you enter the data that your contract manufacturer gives you as to what it's going to cost you to purchase that style. Then you create a customer proposal. So I got step 1, I got step 2, I got step 3. Well, we need to vet out specifically how step 3 occurs. Part of it is going to be through the exportation of a generic inquiry into an Excel template that's going to accommodate the way you all do customer proposals. Secondly, some of the values are going to be benchmark or known values. And thirdly, some of the values are going to be your markup. So you can say, hey, I'll sell this guy to you for $14.99. Why? Because it's
Yeah, so
costing
you
me.
don't have to worry about the green part, right? Is that the only
Well,
orange
we
one
do.
that you want to know?
The reason we need to know both the orange and by extension the green. I really care about the orange. I agree with you, the green's mostly you, but I have to create this template in Acumatica that's compatible with you being able to do the orange and the green. That's why
Okay.
we need to have the decision, right? I've got to construct
But
it.
Jim, my question is, are you
Yes,
going to charge us for doing that?
of course. I'm going to give
Okay.
you the blue right now, and then it depends on how the green and the orange works as to whether or not there's going to be an additional charge. That's what we have to decide.
All right.
Okay. So let me
Mhm.
save this one.
But I'm not sure that does it worth to do that, because I don't want you to spend too much time. But at the
I
end,
don't
that
either.
we
I'm just
decided
saying we
not
need
to.
an hour meeting. We need an hour meeting to define how it works. It's that simple. Right?
So can
That's
we
all.
just write down the question by email, and then we can discuss internally and let you know, so I don't have to
Sure,
waste your
you can.
time?
Yeah. Yes, you can do that. But in the end, I guarantee you there's going to be questions back and forth. Fair enough?
Yeah,
Now,
I know. I will fully understand what they want and what you want, and I will give you an answer.
okay. Now, the next thing, Joy, what we need is, let me put these in red here. I need to know what you mean by first cost TL and IMU and retail,
Okay. Yeah,
right? I
that's
don't
very
know
easy
what those
questions.
words, yeah, I know. They're very
Yeah,
easy. So
yeah.
what my recommendation is that you add those to the glossary in the manual,
Okay.
right? You just go
Mm-hmm.
like this, you go
Yeah,
layout,
yeah, yeah. No problem.
insert below and
Mm-hmm.
retail,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And fill in the blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
That way there's standardization between Stanley and Roman and Sunstone. Fair? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number
Okay.
two, let's talk about pop-up screens. Now, currently, what we learned from Brian and Aileen, check that, Christine on the Stanley side and Aileen on the Roman side is the following. On the gold side, when they get a quote from a vendor, sometimes the vendor quotes the fabrication or the labor on a per piece basis. Okay? That's what's happening here. It's a bad example because it's 50 cents, but they're saying, hey, to make this, I'm going to charge you 50 cents. Okay? That's
Mm-hmm.
per piece. And the software supports that today.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen's saying, time out. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to get the unit cost, the 345, and I want the system to go look at the troy ounce at basis value, look at the weight, do the math, and figure out what the precious metal cost is, and then subtract the unit cost from the precious metal to give me the fab cost. That's what the silver side wants. The gold side says, time out. I don't want to put that fab thing in there. What I want to do is I want you to go look at the weight in grams, and then the vendor's going to tell me, oh, to do this, I'm going to charge you $10 per gram. So if it was $10 per gram, it would come out to be $60.60.
Okay, Jim. To solve this
So
problem, we have two options. One is that we internally need to come up a standardization on how to do it. Or can you quote us if we want to separate it? We have a
that's what we're going to
function to
do.
do that. Yeah.
We're going to do that. And what we're going to do
Okay.
is right now you do the piece part, it's done. You've got that, no
Mm-hmm.
extra cost. The
Yeah.
second way is we're going to give you a pop-up screen. We're going to give you a quote on a pop-up
Mm-hmm.
screen. And it would be
Okay.
like a little thing, like a little button right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would say,
Yeah, they
oh,
can choose
I
what
want
they
a cost
want.
by, yes, I want a cost by gram, or I want to
Yeah.
calculate the PM value. You choose
Mm-hmm.
either option. Based on the options,
Okay.
you add the information and it does
And
its
then we
thing.
will let you
That,
know. Yeah.
then you let us know. That's what we're going to do.
Okay, good.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, so that's that
Next.
one. All right, next one. Let me see where for some reason, my project plan is, hold on. I'm just going to start over.
So is that all for customer proposal for Eileen? Should she
Yeah,
stay
that's it for a
or
customer proposal.
okay?
Hold on, please. Let me look at my project status report. It got hidden. So we just did that. Okay. The next thing that I would like to do, Aileen, is the following. Can you add all your vendors to the software? We only have 1 or 2 in there right now. You've
No,
only got 10, right?
no, that's not. No.
How many vendors do
I
you
was
have?
asking Vincent to do that, Elaine. Would you please help me follow up with Vincent? Because I've been asked him to do for like more than 1 month.
Okay, I
He's
can
been
check with him.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so
so-
much.
So why are you
Yeah.
asking Vincent to set up the vendors in Acumatica? That's should be from Erica's team.
Yeah, Erica gave us the information. I gave it to Vincent to, I asked him to try to learn how to set it up.
So please have them do that. Okay. Let's get the vendors in there. Okay.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
second thing, I suggest that we, on a second round of testing, do the following: create 20 styles
Mhm,
that'll allow us to output in our customer proposal template those styles.
mhm,
We'll pick 10 of them.
mhm.
We'll receipt them into the warehouse, and then we'll ship them from the warehouse.
But
Let's
my question
walk
is,
through a
do you have the
flow.
function work properly? That
Yes.
for us?
I mean, now we can't do interpack and master pack, but of the
But we
5,
can do pick and pack.
yeah, of the 5 pick and pack processes, 3 are
Mhm.
supported out of the box right now. So let's go
Okay.
test those out, because that's going to bring up this walking through the process will bring
Mhm.
up things that we need to think about. That's the
Okay.
point I want, and I want to do it now sooner than later. Let's get
Okay,
it
Okay.
done.
so we're overlapping departments here, though, Jim.
Fair. I know
Yes.
that's
Yes. So Elaine, after you create your team, create your style and Christine, and I will work with Jeff and Wayne to finish the warehouse part.
Okay.
right. And then you get the
but
customer
Thomas,
proposal.
we need to be able to receive the
Well-
order from EDI in order to pick and pack, right?
Well, that's the point.
Yes.
We'll continue the EDI vetting. So once you pick the 10, right, then
Mhm.
you're right. Maybe we should do this, right? Pick the 10, sales order, customer purchase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Via EDI. Good
Mhm.
point. Then PO to contract manufacturer.
Yeah. And then we have to receive the PO.
Then you
PO
receipt
has to
you
be
receipt into the
delivered and
warehouse,
received.
and then you ship,
Yeah.
and then right.
Yep, yep,
So let's walk
yep,
through that
yep.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do the whole thing. So maybe, Thomas, you could tell us some examples of styles that we can do if there's any restrictions here. Are there any?
We need cross references for everything. So nothing in the EDI is going to look anything like what we have in our system, except the partners, trading partner style, and the UPC. That should be across all systems. So we have cross references to deal with that kind of thing. But we
Good.
need the items into Acumatica, especially on the Stanley side, and then we can do some testing. So to do
All
that, I took a Stanley purchase order and listed out 12 items that were in it. And that's my hit list to start testing Stanley EDI for that particular customer.
So can you give us that hit list, and we'll use that to
Yeah,
input those as styles?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll republish it. Yep. It's
Thank
just
you.
whatever
Okay.
was in the
Thank you,
order
Thomas.
I chose. But it's
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, that's
It's a small
whatever.
subset.
So you're going to, Thomas to provide hit list, Stanley hit list.
And
Okay.
Roman Sunstone too, right? Thomas or
But with Roman Sunstone, we know it works. We just know that the items are obsolete.
okay,
and
so we
the
can
EDI
choose
orders are obsolete.
any style or any. I suggest we use like maybe Walmart Target order to test. What do you think,
Well,
Tammy?
we did testing with orders that were a year old, with item masters that were a year old, and it worked. So every customer we tested, we were able to get the order into
It
Acumatica on the
works,
Rolling
right?
Sun
But
stuff side.
we need to actually have some data in the system in order to pick and pack for warehouse. That's the part we need to test.
We have
So-
several we have orders from all the customers in Acumatica already.
Mhm.
So I've got 1,000. I've got Kohl's, Walmart, Target. I've got thousands of orders sitting in Acumatica.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But
Now-
but not in the testing environment, right, Jim?
I've done everything in UAT because that's where EDI is connected to. Is that a problem, Jim?
Yeah.
I think, can we bring that over from UAT into test, Kathleen?
So the connection is defined currently for UAT, and it only has one connection. So we would need to contact True Commerce if we need to change our logic. So I'm not sure why it can't be done in UAT.
I just like to, UAT's got tens of thousands of items in it, and it's tough to track stuff. That's
But
why.
it's for vetting out.
Um,
It's not for necessarily, I mean, it's really Thomas that's vetting out the process.
Yeah, I'll take that as an action item. If we have to go with UAT, we have to go with UAT. I'm going to take that
Okay.
action item. Okay. I'm
Okay.
writing it down.
No
So
problem.
let me do
Got
that.
it.
But very good point. All right.
Okay, Jim,
Now-
just let us know which environment we should start work
Yeah.
with. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to choose the environment. So I'll do that. Now,
Mhm.
this is a footnote. Don't want a large discussion on it, but I'm going to bring it up
Mhm.
because I forgot it myself and it springs something. This is a result of the good work that Thomas and Kathleen have done on the
Mhm.
Stanley side or on some side. Notice the part number that in Acumatica we call inventory ID.
Mhm.
It's here called style ID.
Okay.
And that's because style and inventory can be used synonymously, but they should not be used synonymously. And no one did anything wrong here, but my thinking is we may have to change this in the EDI process, etc., to inventory ID. Why do I say that? Because in fact, when you look at Acumatica, that's what we call parts. That's what you buy. You buy inventory IDs. You don't buy style IDs. Make sense? So, Thomas, I don't know if that's a big thing or not. Should I add it to the list?
So doesn't
To
the
change the
inventory ID just identify the style?
It does a lot more than that. See this item status here, Tammy? It says whether it's active or not. When it's active, it's an inventory ID that I buy and sell. When it's a style, it's just something that I define. I don't buy styles. I don't sell styles. I quote styles. I work with customers on styles, but there's a huge transfer when this goes from style to active. And that's why I don't like to use the term style ID here, because in EDI speak, this is something I'm buying and selling. No,
So
it's an
typically in
inventory
the
ID that's
past,
active.
so in the past, that's why for JD Edwards, it was called an item ID. So that
Yes,
item
perfect.
ID identified the inventory, what you own
Yep.
your inventory at.
Perfect. Yeah. And you know, in Acumatica, it's not item, it's inventory. You know, different
Yeah, I don't like
ERP
the word
systems.
inventory because to me, it's too,
Yeah, but we can't fight this. This is like there's a gazillion reports in Acumatica that use the term inventory ID. The help
Okay.
system uses the term inventory ID. When I can be accommodating, I will be. But when you're stuck with something, I'm going to be firm. We're stuck with inventory ID. There's just too much. I can't change it. It's impossible. So it's just the way it is. So that's one of the reasons that I brought this up, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I'm going to put that on the list for something to think about. Okay, let's go back to our project plan. So we want a second round of testing. The next thing is, have you guys added all the metal prefixes to all the existing jewelry items? Is that done? See, here you got all the style IDs. The BBM is the prefix. This is good news. BBR, you know, I'm sure there's some gold stuff in there, whatever. So is that done for everything? By everything, you know, the thousands of items that you have. Here's all your silver,
I
sterling
mean,
silver
when
ones.
I loaded the initial worksheets for the Roman and Sunstone styles, that prefix was on every style.
Great.
But the
So
but the
Joy,
items are outdated now, Jim. So the bottom line is a lot of them have gone obsolete, and new ones have been added.
Joy, I think you need to assign someone this task of your data prep.
I'm
Right.
telling you right now, I am not going through and doing what I did before until we draw a line in the sand and decide when we're going live, because we
Yeah.
create hundreds of style numbers a month, it seems like. It is just so, and then they don't ever go, you know,
Yeah.
we ship them in 3 months and then they never get picked up again. I don't want
So
to create all those
good
numbers
point.
again.
So let's just say that we need a plan of action to do this. It's because it's a big deal to go live, right? That's my whole mind is, what's it going to take to go live?
Yeah. So we
And
still have
this is
time, Jim. We don't have to worry about that part
right, but we need
right now.
to keep it on the plan and think about it, because once
Yep,
we
yep,
vet
yep.
this
We
guy
will.
up and we fix warehouse, we're good to go. Okay. So
Yep, yep,
then,
yep.
um,
By then we will start to prepare for it.
I
right.
mean,
Okay.
Kelly and I know we have a good idea of all those styles that we loaded before, and we were going to start working on weeding out what we know of what those are active.
Got
We
it.
also, you know, and then we'll take it from there and say, okay, this is the ones we had done before that we already have the data identified for. Now, which ones are new over and above since we did that? And there'll probably be hundreds of style numbers that fall off of the new list that we don't even set up in Acumatica. So
I agree. That's why it's a big, now what you're just saying, Tammy, does that apply to Stanley, or is that a different
no,
group
I
of
don't
people?
have access to Stanley's system.
So Joy, you know, who does it on the Stanley side, right? Because they haven't had it's not been done.
Is that Thomas and Brian?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I don't
Thomas?
I don't have any particular knowledge of their products or anything.
Have you
Brian
ever
keeps
talked
saying
to
that somebody
Brian
in
about
his
this?
that IT team will be able to do it. I've yet to see them be able to do it, but you know,
I don't think he understands how you know, manual the process is
manual
like when you did
processes,
it.
right? Right.
Okay, Joy. So do you want to take that one, Joy?
I
Right,
will
'cause
work
it's a
with
manual.
Thomas and Brian. Yeah, I will let you know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Wayne, I want to start working on the interface to Loftware. Is there a technical team on Loftware? Is there like a spec?
For Locker,
When?
not really. I think
Sorry, Jim, what is Loftway?
It's the labeling system that they use in their warehouse.
Perfect, thank you.
no, not that I know of, but Michael and Thomas would work the most closely with it, I guess.
Okay. So I'm gonna
So we might
do
need
something
we-
here.
you might need to give us some direction, and we might need to do some research and digging around.
All right, so I'm going to start working on that because that's cool. Now, thank you. Now, Thomas and Kathleen, on the EDI, I know that one side's been vetted. Can you give us an upper level where we are? and I apologize. I'm springing on you at this
Uh,
moment. So
No
if you
sweat.
don't have, okay,
we're
thank you.
I'm trying to get the inventory working because it's a relatively simple and yet essential thing. It's called the
Yep.
A64 EDI, and it's not pulling any data. And I'm not sure if they're figuring it's something we should figure out on the Acumatica side, because there is a report that runs in Acumatica that, based on a selection that's fed to it from TC, and then it feeds data back to TC. But I need for Ben to take us full cycle, and that hasn't happened yet. We've been kind of pushing him on it.
So do I need to push Mary?
So,
I just hit back to Ben this a few hours ago, so I'll
Okay.
see what he
so
says.
I have a
Thank
But it's not something we're going to get.
So I have a question. So yeah, I saw your email relating to 846. So
Mhm.
isn't that after all the sales order and processing happens for the PO?
No, 846 is the most upstream process there is. If you don't have inventory, you can't buy
Okay,
it.
that's good to know. Okay. Um,
Just in terms of, but it only affects .coms because, at least on our side of Roman Sunstone, the buyers and the sellers agree on what they're able to buy. Whereas at .com, we have to have a constant daily feed so they know it's available to post on the website.
so why didn't we test this process first? I'm just curious.
Because we could have, I suppose, but everybody was very focused on getting the purchase orders to go,
Got
which we
it.
did.
Okay. So, but Ben hasn't even been able to provide you of what it actually
No,
what the file even is
maybe
and
we need
stuff.
a
Yep,
working session.
exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think we need to
No,
state that in
we've-
that email that and
Yeah,
maybe it needs
need
to
a
go to
working
Mary.
session.
I don't know, based on Mary's, feedback as well, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then next one. So the next one is Thomas and Michael. We just want to have to Tammy's point, we cleaned up, or Tammy identified some prefixes that were no longer used, like SLM and MMM. And so we
Jim,
need to,
please don't say that they're no longer used. I could not identify what they were. I don't know what it is. It doesn't mean that there isn't
Oh.
product out there that has this. So
who should we ask if they are utilized?
I would ask Aileen if you know, do we have any sterling silver brass mixed product, or I mean, this had to come from somewhere. Or I don't know
We
what the
do.
difference is between.
We do.
Yeah.
We have it with Target. Their Demi Fine is brass with sterling silver and 20 mils of gold.
So
And
what
that's what
metal?
MMM means? Excuse me. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I guess.
So I just need someone to tell us what metal this would get put in the system under.
So we're correlating these metal types, which drive cost, to these prefix values. That's the job. And there's the metal types. There's our correlation, but we didn't know what MMM equaled relative to a metal type. So Joy, do you want to take that one?
Yep. Elaine, can we put it in Basecamp, and so Elaine can take a look at and answer your
Yeah,
question?
I'm going to do that right now. Control C.
Oh my goodness.
File, new. All right, that's just going to remind me to put it in Basecamp later. Okay, sounds good. Now,
Yeah, I just didn't know what the difference was between that silver mix and the silver brass. Is that the same? Is it, Aileen, we can discuss this if you'd like. I just didn't know how to code them.
Okay, I'm out of the office the next few days, so I'll have to look at it next week.
Okay. Let me see here. Labels 964. Carolyn, you know, so those dashboards we've been working on, both out of the sales demo database and the stuff we did for ACE.
Yes.
Can you put a few of those into test
Sure.
to get? I want to give Joy. We have a number of Acumatica dashboards that show like daily sales or sales to a customer, et
Yeah.
cetera, right? So I want to start putting them in the system so your team and management can look at them and say, oh, I like
Okay.
this, but I like that. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think in terms of going live, you know, bite up a little at a time. So I want to make this part of the process in terms of tracking stuff. And we have some for purchasing too. So tracking like receipts of orders and stuff like that. So I want to do it. And then I owe you, Joy, it turns out that I guess we've done some work on purchase orders, but the form isn't done yet. So we talked about the fab and the value add. Now let me talk about auto numbering. So where the heck am I? Am I auto numbering? I have it here. Hold on, please. Get this out of the way. I don't have it. I'll save auto numbering. Oh, no. Got this right. Let me save that for next time.
Okay.
And then I want confirmation that I'll put in Basecamp, Joy, for you, but whether or not you guys want this value here anymore, this metal loss value. I think it at one point was
Yeah,
incorporated into
that's from
PD or
Eileen, right?
whatever.
Eileen confirmed that we don't need
We
it.
don't
Tammy?
need it. We do
Yeah,
not
okay.
need
Tammy, can you
I
confirm
confirmed
too?
last
We don't need it, but do we have to keep, is there like a contractual agreement with the vendors that we need to store that somewhere? Because we currently store that in our system.
Right.
We store the fineness and we store the metal loss.
That's in PD, right?
No, it's in JD Edwards in the silver
JD
matrix.
Edward too?
It's
Okay.
not in PD, it's in JD Edwards in the silver matrix.
Right.
So will it matter if we leave it there,
Well,
Jim?
if it's the answer to your question is no, but it affects things, right? Because this field is live and it adds to the unit cost. So if someone makes a mistake and puts a number in there, there's a problem. So let me write this up on metal loss and I'll put it in Basecamp, because just thinking out loud, we might be able to put together an attribute, Tammy. And if it's a value that you need to have stored, we can add an attribute, maybe something like that, right? Or an
I mean,
attribute
it
to
just
the
needs to
vendor
be on the
file.
vendor record.
Right. There you go. So you've got, do we have that? Yeah, here's attributes right here. So we could add another attribute on the vendor record that says loss, right? Store it that way. So there's different ways to address it. So
Yep.
let's figure it out. This one has a material impact on unit cost. That's why this is a big deal. There's a lot of logic that went into this. There's a lot of work that went into this. So, ugh. So anyway, okay. I think that's it for me. Should we go
Okay,
around the
Jim.
room?
Question.
Yes.
Because I forward the vendor list to Tammy, and Tammy mentioned that most of the vendor have been already set up in Acumatica with new vendor number by Sunil.
In UAT. She's
So
speaking in
Kathleen, would you
UAT.
be able to check it out and let us know?
So
Yes, we can.
Yeah, but
So,
my understanding is that I think there's still some vendors that haven't been refined. In other words, I think there was some vendors where they are going to have multiple locations, which is not how you currently have it in your system, for different actual locations. And I don't remember all the
Can you
particulars.
show us where is it, and then send
So,
us the list or send us the question you
well,
want to know,
so
you want to ask.
so I don't have any questions at this point, but I do know that there was some questions by, I think, Tammy, you had a few.
Yeah, those are
So
most of our important vendors. That should be good enough.
well,
Joy, let Kathleen talk. Kathleen,
Okay.
what were you saying?
okay. So first of all, the list of the vendors, as far as all the details, already reside in UAT. And they were established by Sunil. Sunil went back and changed some of the vendor IDs to represent the same vendor ID relative to your existing system. Some of them are new assignments, but it is my understanding from a couple of people, and this is some time back, okay, when Sunil was here, that some people were questioning that some of the vendors were not there, or some of the vendors were there but not the particular location that they were concerned about. I don't believe anybody's.
When you say location, what are you
Well,
referring to?
there was some vendors where there was a location in Indonesia, and also a location in China, and there was a bunch of them, and that was not weeded out and not finalized, is my understanding. So I don't know which ones are
No, I don't think
missing.
so.
I can tell you that we put the receiving branch to designate actually which division it really represents. So that should be a key indicator to help you to know if it's Roman and Sunstone or if it's Stanley, etc. So we did go to that extent. I can't answer what's missing and what is not, correct. Because I don't know that. I just only have the file that Sunil provided me to bring it in.
Okay,
Okay, thank
so
you, Kathleen. I think that for testing purpose, that would be good enough, right? So we
yeah.
only
So,
need to
Well-
validate before go live. Is that right?
Joy, let me speak here,
Yeah.
please. I think the issue is that I spent a lot of time going through the list that Snell had put together that Jim is showing on the screen. And I had spent a lot of time correlating between Stanley and Roman and Sunstone, which suppliers linked, because he had set up separate numbers. And going forward, we don't want to have different vendor numbers for the same factory just because it's a Stanley order going into it versus a Roman and Sunstone. So we had gone in, and I'll have to find my spreadsheet, had identified which numbers were going to relate to which factories going forward. He is going to have an outstanding balance in some of the older numbers, but that's going to go away at some point. So I think we need to have a bigger conversation, and it's not with Vincent just to set up numbers. I think this needs to be with Erica and Joy, and if it's Kathleen, you and I, and Joy, I don't care who is in it, but we really need to get this understood. Now, Kathleen, to your comment about vendors not being set up, that is correct, because in the time that Sunil had done this, we've probably set up a dozen new factories that we weren't doing business with before that we are now doing business with. Some of them currently are on the Stanley side, but going forward, I don't need Stanley to be writing my purchase orders for Roman and Sunstone. So it needs to also be on the Roman and Sunstone side. So I brought this up some time ago that this whole vendor thing needed to be revetted again and better understood.
Yeah, I think that based on what
all right, that's why it's on
based
the
on the
list.
assignment of what we're asking for the vendors to be set up, I would recommend that they be reviewed in UAT and provide us a list of the vendor IDs that are the key ones that Jim is asking for.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, step one.
Because you don't want to set them up again.
Well, we don't need to. I think we
Right.
need to review what's in the system because a lot of effort has been put in. So I don't, I don't know how many total vendors for sure you have, but importing like 50 of them is a no-brainer. I think it's important for you to also know that there are user fields, which are called attributes in Acumatica, that have also been established at the vendor level. So you looking at the screen is going to be more useful than any of the reports. Or we can change the GI to also include those attributes. But I believe that there's some attributes that reference your old IDs. So there's that's going to be a useful field for you to help you to determine which ones are missing and which ones are not, as far as the ones that were loaded at the time from Sunil.
Right.
So I
Right.
think you're correct, though. We probably need to have another meeting together, and I think I can answer all your questions. But I think we really need to start from UApp, because a lot of the effort has already been put there, and then we can determine what's missing. And I think we should load the missing customers and vendors and so forth as we go on, and not wait until we go live.
Right. So anyway, Joy, you may have noticed all I did was go to the vendor screen and click the button, the Excel button, and that generated this document, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool,
that's what I
right?
had done the one time.
So it's easy to do. It gives you a list of all the vendors, and you can, of course, you can do them alphabetically or by country or whatever you like. If there's holes here, there's an issue, probably. And then the point to the fact that everybody's making, when you do a customer proposal, you need to know the duty. And the duty is a result of the vendor and what country they're in. So this is very important for
But not
your.
necessarily, Jim. I keep reminding you of that. That only applies to gold.
Fair enough. So if we're missing a gold one, then that applies. If it doesn't apply to silver, that's a perfect example. Thank you, Tammy, for bringing it up in terms of Joy coming up with a standardized customer proposal, because here's a field that applies for gold but doesn't apply for silver. So maybe we need an A and a B, right? There you go.
Yeah.
That's just got to get down
And
to
so,
start figuring this stuff out.
so Joy, this list that you sent me, I don't think is also complete for America, because it just has like billing where you're sending their invoice or whatever to. It doesn't have any factory information for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. And if duty's
So,
based on factory for gold, then you need that for sure.
and yeah, well, you need to know, yeah, you can't just, so this isn't complete. So you can't
Okay.
expect Vincent to set it up if he doesn't have the right information.
So Kathleen, should we have a meeting on vendors
I
in
think we
general
should,
and lay out
and
all the
I'm looking at
requirements?
your spreadsheet, and I can see that not all fields are being populated for new ones that they're adding. So we need to address that as well.
Thank you. Is there a vendor
Okay, Jim.
import
Yes,
file?
yes, there is
Kathleen?
a vendor import file.
Where is
If
that,
you
please?
go to import scenarios on Acumatica,
So are we all set, Jim?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna.
Okay.
But I just want to show you this part of one last thing, Joy, please. Import
scenario, yep,
scenarios.
and go into the profiles for import scenarios. And when you get into the screen, you'll want to do a search on ASC, which is how we build them. Yeah,
Under the name.
do a search. Yep. And once you just filter ASC. And where's the vendor one? Now that's the delete. Employee stock items. Okay, there was some deviation on the naming convention, so could you just type in a search of vendor? I think we started with one name, and I said let's start with ASC for now on. Okay, so it is the
Import vendor full.
it's the import vendors full, I think. No, import vendors full. And there's
Okay. So you probably want to make sure that this
so
is
go
is
to the files
comprehensive,
to the
correct?
top right, the top right files, and grab the latest file. Yep,
Click on it.
and select the latest date, 8/23/21. That sounds about right. Yep,
Want me to click on
exactly.
this?
And that is the import file that you're really asking for.
So this is the one you fill out and then you push the button and it populates Acumatica. Is that correct?
Yeah, but the title looks different from what you had said. But that's basically the import file layout, but I don't think that's everything. So I'll need to get it for you, Jim, the most current. I think they've made some
Thank you.
changes. Okay?
All right. If you could take that
Sure, I can
action
get
item
that very quickly.
and then, okay.
So,
So that
All right.
concludes
Thank you
the
very
meeting.
much, Jim.
Thank you very much. I will follow up with the items like establishing the weekly meeting on Monday or Thursday, and then
Mhm.
generating some base camps. So we
Yep.
thank you all for all that you're doing. Thank you,
thank
everybody.
you.
Okay, great.
Bye-bye.
Have
Thanks
a
a
good
lot.
day.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
great one. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Mhm.
bye-bye.